very quick intro. This is our round 2 of our huge success previous series. I don't know, folks, if you're aware of that. More than 800 people watched us last time we did that. There were a lot of people gave a positive feedback on what we shared. Today's a round 2. We're actually going to be reviewing messages and LinkedIn DMs. Nick is one of those sales experts that I've learned from. I've been listening like a huge 30 minutes to President's Club fan since the day one. Learned tons of stuff from him. So his perspective here will be definitely filled with lots of like golden nuggets and gems. And Darren is what I would say is the reason why I started posting on LinkedIn. He's always been inspiring me. Like, I've looked for his journey. I still remember to this day when Darren hit 50K, it was like, yo, this was so cool. And the last couple of days, like I hit 50K, I was like, man, I remember Darren inspired me to do that. So Darren, always thankful for that. You're one of the kings when it comes to outbound outreach on LinkedIn. So your perspective on how to do the LinkedIn messages will be invaluable here.
Cool. Thank you, brother. Congrats on 50K. That's a big milestone, man. That's hard to do.
Thanks. Thanks.
I love it.
Yeah. All right, folks. Without further ado, we are starting our live feedback. Like a lot of emails here, a lot of DMs that you guys submitted here. I'll just give like straight away. There's highly likelihood that we'll not be able to go through all of them. We'll try our best. We'll try our best to give a quality breakdown of each email, what we would change. But there are just too many messages. But we'll try our best. And
how many do we have, Yuri? How many did people submit?
So actually, people submitted way more than I put it here in text. I have here only 16 messages to review and 2 emails to rewrite. It would be great if we would have 2 hours for that, but we have only 1 hour, unfortunately. So let's see what we can do. Without further ado,
let's go 3 minutes per submitted email, and that way people get to see a lot.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. We'll go through the DMs and LinkedIn emails, and then we'll do some rewrites. And then if we'll have some time, you guys can ask us any question that you have. All right, let's jump into it. The first message, it's a cold email. So I'll not be reading this email out loud because this probably taking a little bit of time. We can start just pointing out things what we feel about such emails, what things we would change. And for the viewer, for the viewers here, we'll do a checklist on the side. We'll give a score on each email after we review it. So, after we review this email, this might be 7 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Who knows? Let's see.
Cool. I actually am going to read it out loud because I think one of the things that we talked about was the read it out loud test. And part of what I think the read it out loud test is designed to help you do as a salesperson when you are writing sales messaging is think, is this actually what a human being would say to another human being? Darren, when we were on the prep call for this, you mentioned that you are at a conference today.
Right.
And I'm wondering, would you ever walk up to a prospect and say, it's nice to meet you. Having trouble showing potential clients the real value of your services? Your profile showed up in my recommended friends section. And after taking a look at what you've been doing in the accounting space for years now, I may have an idea. Interested? Cheers, Darren.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard no for me.
I think the main problem that I see with this email, let's go through the checklist in a second, is it is extremely vague, both on the problem that this Celine person solves and also how they help solve. What I'm seeing is having trouble showing potential clients the real value of your services. What does that actually mean? That's not clear or specific enough of a problem for me as a prospect to be like, oh, I get what this is about.
Yep.
And then the rest is what I might call fake tailoring or fake personalization. Your profile showed up in my recommended friends section. And after taking a look at what you've been doing in the accounting space for years now, I know as a prospect receiving this email, this is not personalized or tailored to me. This is fake personalization, which hurts you more than it helps. And then the solution description is, I may have an idea, interested. You got to give me a little more than that to make it believable that you might be able to help. So that's my qualitative assessment of this email. Before we go through the checklist, anything either of you guys want to add?
No, I mean, I think the subject line is just, I mean, no one's ever even going to read the email to begin with. Nobody wants an invitation to a call with no context. So, you know, I think subject lines are probably one of the most important parts of an email. And this one, unfortunately, is getting thrown into spam and hurting your domain like tomorrow.
Yeah. Can you give an example, Darren? Because I think we're going to talk about this a lot when it comes to subject lines, of what a not selling in the subject line or what a good subject line looks like to get an open.
Yeah, I mean, if this was somebody that I knew that they were in the accounting space, I'd probably go back like 2 years ago on their LinkedIn profile, and let's say they worked at you know, MasterCard. I might, in my subject line, says your time at MasterCard.
Nice. That's really good.
Because they know,
like
and I'm going to go further down in their like industry experience where like not normal people wouldn't know that they actually worked at MasterCard 3 jobs ago.
Yeah.
So.
I really like that one. I used to sell to law firms, and oftentimes the attorneys that I would sell to had worked at a couple different firms over their career. And I totally could have used what you just shared, where I would have said, your time at DLA Piper. And what I could have surfaced, because all law firms generally have the same problems. And so I could just be like, hey, I bet when you worked at DLA Piper, you had this problem. And my guess is you still have this problem, and we can make it go away. And that's how I would have done it when I was prospecting for that. Man, Darren, where were you 5 years ago? I needed that.
I was making $10 an hour. It's a long time ago.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, folks, let's
writing bad
finish.
emails is what I was doing.
Let's finish this review of this email with giving it a score on our checklist. No selling 1-3 words, internal camo. No,
Nope.
it does not.
Preview test. It fails that. The preview text shows having trouble showing potential clients. That's what you see when you see it in your inbox, which screams to me sales email. Delete.
Yeah.
Front loaded first sentence. No.
That's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Relevant and personalized. No.
No. There's fake personalization.
Yeah, but you know, what's in it for the prospect?
90% of sellers are sending, man. And that's why that's why it's never been easier to be good at sales.
Yep.
So true. The more emails I review, the more I see that it's just so easy to stand out. Like, just don't do what everybody else is doing. Just take it one step further, and that's it. You're good. What's in it for the prospect stands out. Does it though?
No, I may have an idea. I guess it stands out, but it's not compelling for me as a prospect. You have to have a minimum viable amount of believability around your solution. You can't just be like, hey, here's a problem. We're going to make it disappear. I have an idea. When I see I may have an idea, I'm like, why would I agree to a call without any context at all about what you solve? And what I might do, I've had this before where I get CTAs or value props like that are very, very vague. If they actually nail the problem that they describe, I'll go to the person's website. Like, I'll look at their email domain and go to their site. But that's if I'm really interested in the problem. And I don't think you want a chance that a prospect is going to be that interested in the problem you explain. I think you got to give a tiny bit about your solution or what you solve.
Yeah.
So
value over features. I think both are absent in this email. Like, you don't have value, you don't have features.
Right.
But I think we have our first point, interest-based CTA. The call to action is literally interested. So I think we could give it a point.
Yeah.
Here, obviously it failed read it out loud test. And I would give this email, it's a short one.
You can give them a point here.
Give them a point.
Yeah. All right. 2 out of
folks,
10.
Why don't we let folks in the chat let us know 2 out of 10. Is that what you'd give this one also? But we can keep moving on. Let me know in the chat, folks, what rating you would give that email. And then we can keep moving. We'll see what they say.
All right, let's go for another one. Now we have a LinkedIn DM.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing here that Nick did. I'm gonna read it out loud really quick. So this is a LinkedIn DM going directly to someone's DM folder on LinkedIn, right? You know how busy these things are, especially for C-suite leaders, VP leaders. They get between 30 and 60 every single day. So just something to think about as you're sending these out. So Steven, notice your job post looking for a social media manager on LinkedIn, which suggests Matcha Ninja is trying to grow on social media with an impressive 12K followers on Instagram. How are you ensuring that you're converting them into consistent sales? Proper Goods were able to achieve a purchase CVR 28% using Instagram DM marketing powered by AI and automation. Have you tried DM marketing before? I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not bad. It's not a bad LinkedIn DM. Here's the one thing that I would tell you when I'm looking at this. I don't think LinkedIn DMs are formatted the same and should be formatted the same as an email, right? And so I don't think you need Steven, comma, right? I think it's just Steven, right? And the one thing that I realize is when I try to like hyper formulate these things, I don't get responses. I don't need cheers at the end. I don't need, all of the fluff. And so keep this a little bit shorter. And then I will always tell people, I coach people on this every single day. Send this in an audio message. Press the little microphone button on LinkedIn, send this in an audio message. It gets your personality through. It shows that you actually know what the heck you're talking about. It also shows you like you're running a marketing firm, so you should be doing things a little bit differently versus like what everybody else is doing. And if you want to get really, really hyper focused, you can send them a video. And I mean that I send 6 every single day. I've been doing that for years, and it's changed my entire pipeline. And so, like I said, 30 to 60 a day, you're going to be one of the only people that send them a video message. And you're going to be the only message that C-suite leader opens in a LinkedIn DM. But let's grade it. I actually think this is good. Whoever wrote this is not a bad, it's not a bad email. Front-loaded first sentence. Notice your job post looking for social media. I mean, you're doing your research. I kind of dig it. I think it lands well. I think you did your research also. The only thing I would tell you that with a DM is kind of personalized. You did your research on the company. You didn't do your research on the person. So add a little bit of relevancy or research on the person in as well as the organization. So I don't know. I feel like you can give them a point for relevant and personalized. What's in it for the prospect? Listen, man, you're telling them what's gonna happen. They're gonna grow in a different channel. I'm gonna give them a point there too. I'm a pretty easy grader here.
I wish I had you as a teacher in school.
I see social proof. They mentioned Proper Goods.
Yep.
Value of features as well.
Yeah, there's a call to action in here. The problem with the call to action that I'm going to knock them on a point here. I do think it's a call to action. I don't think that anyone's going to respond back to this email and say, yes. Have you tried DM marketing before? Absolutely. No, like, hey, I would love to chat with you more about how we can talk about DM marketing. Here are 3 times that I think work best. I think that's the kicker there. You're pushing them to ask. Loaded base last sentence was great. And then it's a little long. I might run this through ChatGPT and ask it to cut it in half. And that might be the message that I send, just because LinkedIn, they're looking at them really quickly. You might lose a really busy C-suite leader at the second line if this isn't a little bit shorter. But other than that, man, I thought whoever wrote this is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think a couple things to call out, Darren. The biggest thing that you mentioned earlier that I think folks need to take note of: formatting of your LinkedIn DM should not be the same as formatting of a sales email. If it looks like you just copied and pasted a sales email into LinkedIn and sent it to your buyer, it just they're like, okay, this is a sales message. It screams sales message, sales email. And a couple things that you mentioned is like, get rid of some of the structure of the email of Steven, comma, and the cheers. One thing that I've also done is I'll actually send, like if I'm going to send this message, I'll send not just copy paste, put it in my in the messenger in LinkedIn. I'll send the first paragraph and then the second one and then the third, the CTA, as separate messages. So they actually get multiple notifications, which if you're like maniacal about being at inbox zero like I am, people are gonna just like look to clear it out because there's not one, not two, but three. And it also makes it come across as more, oh, okay, Darren actually sent this rather than copy paste, sent this in Messenger. So
Yeah.
that's a really big call out that I think you shared.
Yeah, I
the
can
other
answer the
thing,
question. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Somebody said, what happens if they haven't accepted your connection request? I mean, I think this is like social selling, 101 right now. If you're going to add a note to a connection request or send a sales navigator DM, it better be really good. It's going to look different when it gets in their inbox. So they're going to know it's coming from a salesperson. So I always try to engage with their content, click on their profile, drop a comment on their recent post, like one of their comments that they have. They don't post a lot. And then I'm going to send that invite without an actual note. And the likelihood of them being able to accept that is pretty high. Then I'll send that message. I try not to send them until connected.
That's really good. The way that I've been thinking about connection requests is like you either want to swing for the fences and write a really, really thoughtful 10 out of 10 connection request, or you want to put in zero effort and just send a blank one. You're actually doing it interesting where you'll like engage with a lot of their stuff and then send a blank request, which I would actually put in the 10 out of 10 camp where like you're putting some effort into making sure this person accepts. But
right.
I accept every single LinkedIn connection request that I get, except the ones where there are notes that are very clearly from people pitching me. Those are the only ones that get declined.
Yeah.
So that's another way to think about it.
It's not only unit.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting you. Just one
do the
very
same
quick.
thing?
I did a post about that last week, and a lot of people responded that they also accept connection requests without notes. The one thing that they are tired of is when they accept the connection request and getting an immediate pitch lab, it's a big no-no to them. So that's one thing also to consider. And the same, and so there were also some people who were like, I appreciate when somebody reaches out and tells me what they are going to do. If their outreach is crap, I'll not just accept it. So there's that camp of people. And the last camp is probably the best ones, is they said, I just accept a connection request of people that I know. And what Darren just said here is he actually shows up and lets the people be like familiar. And then when he can send a connection request, he's not a stranger anymore.
Yeah. Really, really good. One other way I think we could make this shorter is that second paragraph. With an impressive 12K followers on Instagram, how are you ensuring you're converting them to consistent sales? I think that's where I would cut a lot of the meat. I don't think you need to call it an impressive 12K followers. Like that just feels like you're sort of greasing me to like try to get me to take a meeting. It's like, you've got 12. I don't know. I might say something like you have 12,000 followers on LinkedIn and and then I think we can connect it to like, there's a way that you could be turning that into bottom of funnel conversions and sales. Proper Goods was able to, or were able to. That's sort of how I would think about messaging.
It's called synthesizing. I would synthesize this email in a way where I'm just cutting it all in half and saying the exact same things. But also from a copywriting perspective, what a lot of people forget is that if you look through this DM, if you recognize each paragraph is exactly one sentence. It's not two sentences. So those are extremely long sentences to kind of get the quickly scan through. It's like, I wouldn't be able to just quickly scan through that one sentence. And the same thing, would you say it in life? Like, notice your job post looking for a social media manager or LinkedIn, which suggests Matcha Ninja is trying to grow on social media. You would not say that in live. You would say it in a shorter way. So always reflect that.
That's why the audio DM is. That's why the audio DM is so good. Like if I were just going to send this to Steven right now, I'd be like, Steven, what's up, man? Hey, I saw you're hiring for a social media manager last week. Sorry, I'm just now getting to this, but man, 12,000 followers on Instagram. I just want to make sure that you're capitalizing on everything that you can do with those followers. I don't know if you know Proper Goods, but if you're in the space, I know you are. You probably do know about them. We help them get 28% more using Instagram DMs. I'd love to chat in like 3 weeks. Like that's We're way better at speaking than we are at writing.
That's really good. I also love your like mini pushaways in there also. Like you weren't laying it on super, super thick. You were like, I don't know if you know them. You said something about like, man, 12,000 followers. I just want to make sure that like, it was really, really good. Your tonality came through really good there, Darren.
Yeah. All right,
love
guys.
it.
6
keep
out of
rolling.
10 email, 6 out of 10 DM. It feels like an
Nice.
email, honestly, though.
Good job, whoever this was.
Yep.
Give
Let's
them
go.
some claps. Give me some claps in the chat for a 6 out of 10.
Oh, I need to delete the annotations. All right. This email, folks, what do we think about that?
Let's see. I'm going to read it. First name. Does it make your blood pressure rise when you have to jump between different tools to find that one report you're looking for? Profit, costs, etc. We can help store all your reports in one place and create overview dashboards to your preferred style. That's how David, COO of ABC, increased his company profits by 13.67%. With a bench forecasts from our tool, he was able to spot drops in profits and move people to other projects to prevent them. His PMs reduced allocation and reporting from 15 hours a week to 30 minutes. Let me know if this is something interesting. Subject line is reports. Let's go through the checklist, and then we can talk about any other qualitative feedback. Subject
No
line.
selling. 1-3 words, internal camo. Thoughts?
I actually think this is a good subject line.
It's a great subject line.
It's boring. This is something that I've seen the folks at Lavender talk about, which is like you want a boring subject line. If you look at most of the emails that you get that are work related, most of them are pretty boring. No one is like triple your reporting efficiency. I don't get emails related to my job that look like that. You want something that looks like it is related to their job for 2 reasons. One, this is related to their job. You're prospecting them about something that will help them related to their job. 2, it looks like something that they would normally get and they would open. Now, we can't deceive them. I'm never going to advocate for doing anything unethical in sales. But you're better off having a subject line that looks similar to everything else. And if you can relate it to reports, which this email clearly does, you're golden in my mind. Let's talk about the email preview. Does it make your blood pressure rise when you read this email preview, Darren?
Just, yeah, I mean, I this is similar to me as like a breakup email, which I hate. Like I don't want to think about my blood pressure as a leader. Like I don't want to do that. So I mean, this is automatically deleted for me before I get to like the meat down below.
Yeah,
Right.
like if
I would have opened it though. Like I would have opened it
with reports, right? You would have opened it. The blood pressure rise thing is kind of cringy. You're also going to see in that preview text, nobody gets work-related emails that start with, does it make your blood pressure rise? My doctor doesn't even send me emails like that.
Yeah.
That, to me, screams sales. So we should slash that, and we need to have that first 35 characters be something that, again, like the subject line, either nails our personalization or looks like something they should open. That's my take. So it fails the preview test and the front-loaded first sentence, which are basically the same thing.
Well, I don't know how much of a relevancy and personalization do we have here.
There isn't any. Well, there isn't any personalization.
Yeah, none.
It's like a use case selling here. It's like, hey, you have this problem. If not, what's in it for the prospect stands out. I mean, if you get past through the first sentence, then you can see that we can help you store your reports in one place. But if that's a big if.
I think the biggest problem that I see with this email is it is conflating being able to store reports in one place and create overview dashboards with increasing company profits by almost 14%. As an executive, that is not believable. That not having to jump and look for some reports in different places is preventing me from like making I mean, seriously, do the math for a second. What is 13.67% on a business that's making $10 million in profit a year? I don't believe that saving some time looking for reports is actually the problem. And I don't believe that's going to give us that benefit.
I agree with you. I think what this email's biggest conflict is that it has two use cases in one. First one is like, we help you store all the reports in one place. Cool. The second one, we have a bench forecast. So what are you exactly telling me? Like, are you saying that your reports help you, like that person save 13%, or the bench forecast? What are you exactly suggesting here?
Yeah, I mean, this is the part, like, this is what maybe makes me so frustrated about emails right now, is like, nobody gives a shit about David. Nobody cares. They care about themselves, right? And so, like, as you're writing this email, whoever wrote this, right? Like, I want to know, like, did I read their 10K? Did I read their earnings report? Did I read their sustainability report? And did I see an issue or somebody on their team talking about reporting and data where they're having trouble? I need to relate to that, right? And it takes a little bit more time, but I'd rather see y'all sending 12 emails a day that are really, really, really good with relevance to the individual than sending, 140 of these.
Yeah, the idea that I had with this email, sorry, before that we may have some people that are sending to the SMEs, like, the smaller companies that are not public yet. And I can kind of get it from their perspective. It's harder to research, but at the same time, I feel like this email is still conflicting with too many kind of things thrown all at once.
I think if I were to work with the seller who wrote this email, the big change that I would make is if you actually like look at the points that they make. Point one is like in the first paragraph, it's probably frustrating jumping around to different tools looking for reports. Point two is we help store your reports in one place and create overview dashboards. Point three, somebody increased their company profits. Point four, with our stuff, this person was able to spot drops and move people around to different projects. Point five, his PMs reduced allocation and reporting by a significant amount. I think they're burying the lead here. I actually think and I don't know because I don't know this company, I actually think the real value what they bring is this COO. Let's pretend that everything here is true. This COO, David, using this dashboard tool, was able to figure out where he was putting his labor hours of his business, of all the different employees and PMs that he had. And by seeing these dashboards, he was able to identify a more efficient way to distribute his workforce on the different projects that they had. That's what I think this company helps with, which is, hey, like, there's some efficiency routing that you can do. And I think that's the value prop, not storing reports in one place.
Yeah.
So that's what I would encourage this seller, if you're in the audience, to think about changing this. I don't think we need to go through the rest though, Yuri, because I want to make sure we get to all the other emails.
Yeah, we're running out of time a little bit, so let's quickly move through those. LinkedIn DM here.
I'll do this really fast,
Cool.
since we just talked about this one. So, hi, first name, pleasure to connect with you. Your recent post on LinkedIn regarding Plen's third annual report on access to credit underscores the urgent need for fair lending solutions in the UK. Understanding the challenges you may face in assessing borrowers. Okay. Actually don't mind the pitch here. I think I like that they did the research. I think probably a little bit more casual in a DM. I like that you're thanking them for connecting with them. I like that you're sending this after you're connecting with them. I would hope that you engaged with that post that you're complimenting on the annual report. And the only other thing that I would add in here, again, I'm going to keep going back, right? Like, text-based, 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 text-based. Like, everybody's getting them. Get this in an audio, get this in a video. And on that annual report, I would probably, to Nick's point a minute ago, where you want to, like, you'll double ding them in a LinkedIn DM, I would screenshot the part of that annual report that you're referencing and drop that in below your message, so they'll be able to see that you actually did the research and you're not full of crap, right? And so that's the part that's key there. Understanding the challenges, assessing borrowers. Would it be reasonable for us to have a chat about this? this actually, a lot of people say, and every message that we've seen so far is like, would this make sense? Would this be reasonable? Do you have time to chat? Don't make your buyer or prospect do work, y'all. Like give them the times that you're available. Assumptive close in this, like, hey, here are a couple times that I'm available over the next 3 weeks. Give them the options. You already have their email. Don't ask them for their email. You have all the tools to be able to do that. And then all they have to respond back is 27th at 3. But everybody puts this question in there. It's like, yeah, what? I think you're making them answer a question they don't need to answer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but going back, man, audio, like if you send this in an audio, you're getting a message.
What I would say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, all right.
You're good.
I'll add from my perspective is just this. Be more specific. Like, we can enhance your platform's capabilities, optimize data analysis process, and strengthen cybersecurity measures. It's like, wow, those are all different things. Just be more specific, like just narrow it down. Just focus on one thing, make it clear for me to understand what exactly you will do, how you will do it, and I'll just let you know if that makes sense to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, I wrote it down also, Yuri. What on earth does we can enhance your platform's capabilities actually mean? I have no idea what that means. And I'll tell you why I think this person put that there. Is if you think about the way you describe your solution or the problem you solve and the range of specificity that you have, oftentimes our products solve multiple problems. And what salespeople will do is they'll say, well, I solved 3 problems and I want to make sure I address all of those. I need to describe them in a way that addresses all of them. And they move towards generic to capture more of the problem surface area or the value surface area. The problem is they often over-index on the capturing everything that they solve. You're actually better off being too specific and overshooting the problem and describing one problem in the most compelling problem that you solve in an extremely specific way. And even if you overshoot the buyer's problem, you're actually going to be they'll respond and say, well, we don't have that problem, but we have this one here. And if you describe it using very, very specific language, because you should know your space and you should know the type of challenges that, Darren, you sell to L&D leaders, like you know the problems they have. And even if you overshoot problem A, if you describe it specifically enough, you'll have a lot more opportunity to get to problem B than if you say, hey, we help L&D leaders optimize the way that they work with teams, right? Which is what this person did. So the only thing I'm going to call out is I love Chris Voss. He's awesome. And I love no-oriented questions, but I think folks are starting to overuse them. Where would it be reasonable? I guess they would say, would it be unreasonable? It would be the Chris Voss version, but
yeah, but it just with any other, like, any thoughts follow-ups used to be really, really good like 4 years ago. Now that everybody is using it, it kind of like, may want to think about different ways to follow up.
Yeah. I always use the line, I've got time between 2 and 3 next Thursday.
Love it.
I mean, I always have that guy. I always have that saved.
Well, folks, if you want to reach Darren anytime, remember between 2 and 3.
Oh, no.
Let's go rapid fire. We only have a couple minutes, I think.
Yeah, let's go. I recommend we ditch the checklist and grading. We kind of just go through those emails because it'll be faster to give the feedback. Oh, wow.
Oh, this one makes my blood pressure rise.
All right, I'm going to read it fast. Subject line, discover the most recent IoT, I think Internet of Things, trends in healthcare industry. Dear Yuri, I noticed your interest in the latest misspelled technological advances in the healthcare market. I am writing to introduce my team. We help companies across various industries to utilize IoT solutions of any size. We provide full cycle IoT product development, including PCB layout design, embedded system programming, prototyping, manufacturing support, and more. We know how to avoid pitfalls at each stage of implementation. Link to company website. Team consists of over 100 experts with 14 years of experience and 100 plus projects in 22 plus countries. I would like to use this opportunity to connect with you to discover how we can support your project. Please inform us. Gosh, please inform us of your interest. Would be happy to schedule a consultation at your convenience. And then they have looking forward to and unsubscribe.
I would just, before we completely like roast this email, I can see such messages being sent in a different cultures, let's say in a different language, to an old-fashioned businesses. Like I could see it maybe to some, steel factory owner who's like 70-year-old and from far Middle East. That might cut it there, and also you kind of have to show the respect. But I don't think those people read emails. They would probably just prefer the face-to-face meetings or at best calls.
Yuri, I
That's
want to double down on what you're saying for a sec, because I'm so glad that you called that out, because you're right. My first inclination was to just rip on this, and you're making me think of my my great uncle who's in his 90s, and he owns a small manufacturing company in Orange County, and they make like machine components, like they're magnetic sensors that they actually make. And he in the office has a copy of the first like sales letter, a letter that he used to send out to people, and it looks really similar to this. And I wouldn't rip on that email to his face, so I don't think we should dump on this person. I think you're right. They're doing this for a reason, and I think they're confusing professionalism and formality in this email more than anything. So I'm
exactly.
glad you called that out, because there are some cultural distinctions at play here, and I think there's also some generational distinctions at play in emails like this.
We
Yeah,
might be,
I
but
also think that marketing wrote this.
yeah,
I don't think sales wrote this.
I mean, just look at that email. At the first words of each paragraph, I noticed, I am, we, link, I would like, please inform us. It's like all about me. Like, yeah. Still, without roasting this email too hard, I would just suggest flip it in the perspective of what you would get out of this email if you want still to be extremely respectful with all the pleasantries and stuff like that. But I think that the most compelling part of this email is the PS section here. Just please unsubscribe.
Yeah. I think if I were this person, what I would recommend that they do is, let's assume that they wanted to keep the tonality and the formality, because that's a cultural element of why they sent this, why they wrote this email the way that they did. I don't think that it is, and I think we've talked about a lot of the best practices related to shortening, problem-oriented, a lot of the stuff that we have in the checklist on the side. But let's assume that they want to keep the tenor of this email. My biggest rec for them would be step one, go through this email and figure out what could you cut. I'm writing to introduce my team. Well, of course, you're doing that. I don't think you need to tell me. So what I would recommend this person do to get this email 80% better, step one, just go through and what is not necessary to be communicated. If you had to cut 40% of the information you communicate in this email, cut that, and then let's revisit. So that would be my rec with this person. Anything else you guys have before we move to our next one?
I would just add starvation is way healthier than overeating. That's like quote by your Nick. So it's always just better to crave for more than just, get full and not be willing to just consume anything else.
The quote is, most sales emails fail because of indigestion, not starvation. Starvation is you don't communicate enough information in your message. Indigestion is you communicate too much and in a way that is hard for the other person to actually understand. It's our responsibility to pre-digest the information for them to make it easy for them to understand.
And there's a psychology and the science behind that. That's just all how our brain works. But you described it perfect.
Let's keep rolling.
Should we go to the next email or DM?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's make sure we leave time for the rewrite.
All right, let's do two more and then we go for the rewrite.
Hi, SaaS founder. I'm a growth advisor specializing in customer growth, revenue growth, and process improvement for subscription businesses. I'd love to connect and deliberate on your company's growth vision. I mean, you have no idea. Yeah, so like you have no idea who I am. If this is a first message, I'm probably blocking you on LinkedIn if I'm a founder, or it goes into the other folder because LinkedIn's identified it as spam, which is happening more and more and more and more in LinkedIn. Just make sure you know that. I don't think, as I said in the very first one, let's just say that, you know, Nick is the SaaS founder. I don't think it's hi Nick. I think it's just Nick. You know, my name's Darren McKee. Thanks so much for connecting. Take that last DM. Somebody said, hey, it's a pleasure to connect with you. Thank people, right? Like, hey, it's a pleasure to connect with you. I'm sure you get 1,000 of these a day. Hopefully you read this one. I'd love to connect and chat. I mean, I don't even know what this person's talking about, right? Like, I have no idea what they're trying to say, but it's like, I know you run a subscription-based business. I've, you know, helped 72 of them over the last 6 months. And you're probably dealing with the exact same issue. Can we chat next week?
I
Right?
love
Like,
that you call out, you probably get thousands of these a day. Like, I just
yeah.
love that you call out the elephant in the room. It's true.
Yeah, it's true. And I always have I throw an odd number in there. Like, hey, we've supported 67 businesses just like yours over the last 6 months. And maybe I'll drop like a competitor or two in there. The biggest thing about a LinkedIn DM, everyone, like, use your second degree connections like they're your ammo, right? And so if I'm looking at Nick and I notice that Nick is connected to, I don't know, I was looking at a subscription business last week called Wrist Mafia or Watch Mafia. And if I know that Nick is connected to another subscription owner, I'm going to ask that guy first or that gal first to make the introduction to Nick. And I don't ever want to have to send an email. I don't ever want to have to send a DM. I'd rather somebody send that on my own. So it's just like, you know, hey, Nick, Darren McKee, thanks so much for accepting my request yesterday. I'm sure you get a ton of these. And I want to chat with you about what you're doing in your subscription-based business. Worked with like 67 other companies over the last 6 months that have a pretty common issue, and that is failed payments.
Yep.
Whatever it may be, right? And so you just got to get a little bit more specific here, and a little bit more human. Otherwise, it's just, and get rid of regards. It's not an email.
I would get rid of growth here. Like, if you look at this email consists of like 20% of this email is our words: growth advisor, customer growth, subscription growth, company's growth. No, well, it's a lot.
Yeah.
All
So
right, let's jump into our last review, and then we go for one email rewrite, and then possibly we might have some time for questions that we still haven't answered. So yeah.
My name, I recently came across Woodpecker's job posting for a cybersecurity person, which suggests ongoing projects in identity management. I believe Active Cyber's expertise in identity management could greatly benefit your security initiatives. With expertise in cloud technologies like Okta, SailPoint, Microsoft Workday, and ServiceNow, plus a proven track record with clients such as X, Y, and Z, we're eager to discuss how we can address your recs. Are you open to discussing potential collaborations over a call? No pressure. Just curious if this is worth exploring further. Hoping best regards.
I like that last part. No pressure. Just curious if that's worth. Like, I like that. But what I add from my perspective is just, wow, there's too much of a logo dump, Okta, SailPoint, and then another client's like, wow, that's too much.
Yeah, agree. And subject line also is to selling, enhancing security measures. I feel like anytime you have I guess that's a verb, enhancing, that suggests improvement, you probably should cut it out of your sales email. Subject line, rather.
I would say security
improving,
measures would be a better one if we just
totally. So let's get to the rewrite. I think we've Darren, why don't you share?
This says nothing about the company. I mean,
yeah.
So
cool that you work with those companies.
I think, but that's a really last call out that I'll give that I want to that you shared, Darren, is I don't want to get on a call to discuss requirements or potential collaboration without understanding like how you actually might help. I want you to come with a POV. It's not worth my time, and I don't want to have to muster up. All right, let me share everything that's on my mind. That's what I go to therapy for, not take a sales call for.
Amen.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's do a rewrite maybe.
Let's
or do you want to take questions?
Sorry. Okay. yeah, if you guys have any questions, please leave it in the chat. We'll now dive into the rewrite. And if we'll have some time after that, we'll try to answer those questions. All right, the first email. Wow. Okay. It's going to be a little bit tricky. Managing IT procurement can be a hustle, well, hassle, depending on your BAI partner. As your dedicated rep, I'm here only when you need me and invisible when you don't. I offer support, not sales pitches. If a better solution, well, this is a sales pitch, not a support. If a better solution exists outside of offering, I'll point it out. No hard feelings if you shop around the best value I can give you to be dependable resource that supports your growth. My end, I look for partners who look beyond the typical vendor relationship. For example, planning bulk endpoint purchases rather than buying sporadically can help us save and look at features like imaging and asset target. Well, that's you can feel sometimes when the email is too long. You're even taking a break to kind of finish the sentence. It's hard to read. If you're happy with your current partner, great. Let me know, and I'll leave you be. If you feel like you might be not getting this from a partner, though, let me know if we can see if it makes sense to explore working together. Best, Jacob. Well, folks, what do we think?
So in terms of what is being communicated in this email, as your dedicated rep, I'm here only when you need me and invisible when you don't. I offer support, not sales pitches. If a better solution exists outside of our offerings, I'll point it out. That's not bad information to be communicating, but that is something that should be saved for an actual conversation with the prospect, not as the main reason to engage with the sales rep. So I feel like the first half of the email, it's not bad to say those things to a prospect, but I don't think it's needed here. I think it's way too early to be leading with this. I don't know, Darren, what are your thoughts? You look like you've got a furrow on your brow.
I just want us to do a little bit more research on the individual. Somebody asked in the chat, give me an example email that's won recently. And so like, I'm gonna go in a little bit of a different direction here, but like with this email, right? Like I did the research, and in his about section, he said he was a father of 2 little girls, right? I'm like, all right, cool. I know that. He's also a coach. So he's going to know what ATD and the conference that I'm at is in, right? I was deep in their sustainability report. I know they talked about mentorship and not coaching, right? Like it took me 7 minutes to get this and to write this message. This email over here, it tells me nothing about like any research that I did for that individual. And so like, the first one subject line is something relevant and personal about that person. Like, why are they going to then answer it? Maybe it's, I rode in college as well. Maybe I found in their about section down at the bottom that they were a rower in college. Right. So like, I want them to answer that. And it's just like, listen, man, like I've been doing a lot of research. Like I will even sometimes attach my account plan to an email because they know how much research that I've done on them. Yeah. Everybody's trying to shortcuts here.
Darren, the email that you put in the chat, I think only went to hosts and panelists.
Oh, shoot.
I think you need to make it go to everyone because it's really good.
Sorry.
No apologies needed.
This is for Target, company Target in Minneapolis. I can't.
I know Target. You want me to send it to everyone? I can do it.
I got it. I'm good now.
All right. It's a really good message. I love it.
It is. What I would add before we dive into maybe rewriting this email, oftentimes when I see like, people like, hey, Yuri, this is an email, I want you to have a look and rewrite that. I scan through that email and then I realize like, wow, there's not much things that we can work here. I mean, like if I would just make it better, it will take it from 1 maybe to a 2 out of 10. But I would just need to be a completely different approach over here. And oftentimes I ask like, are you able to collect any source of data on that company and how specifically you can help them? If like, let's say you're a marketing agency, a lot of marketing agencies out there, and they oftentimes reach out like, hey, we're an award-winning marketing agency, we can help you do X, Y, Z. And I often say like, okay, guys, can you quickly check their monthly website viewer count? And any source, like any sort of a KPI that it can relate to, and just point it out in your email. So let's say instead of that vague message that is not specific, you're saying something like, Yuri, Woodpecker is getting 400,000 monthly views, yet only 30% come from the US. You guys only offer US dollar payments. So I just like wonder, how do you convert the other 2/3?
Nice.
You can do that research if you're in marketing agency, and it feels like, wow, this is a great email. This is well-researched email. And the reality is it's not that hard to scale it. You just need a couple of tools that you'll be able to research in. Same as Darren said, it took him 5 to 7 minutes to write a message that feels like 1 in 1,000 messages that they're getting. It feels extremely personalized and it's relevant. So
So
sometimes you just
here's my flow for anyone listening. If you're trying to figure out like what's the best way to write this email, the very first thing, if you identify the company, go to Google, look at news and articles, identify multiple news and articles that's happening in the business. Step 3, read a little bit about what's happening with their earnings. This is, you're probably 3 minutes in here. 4th step, go over to LinkedIn, do the exact same thing that you did with the company, but with the person. Look at their background, look at their about section, look at where they went to work. Do you have any past clients in there? All of that stuff. That now you've formalized an email in your head now based on those key specific things. And I guarantee you're the only person that's going to email something with that much relevancy in today. I don't care. It can be super long. I don't care, as long as it's really, really good. And you're going to get an open 85% of the time.
what I would add just very, very quickly before you go, oftentimes you say shorter emails work better. The performance of a 50-word email is like 10x, 5x, whatever. What I say is this. You just have to make sure that each word that you put out there has a value. And it can be something like, I'm able to scrap only 30 words that are making sense in that email. Sometimes you can put even 100 plus words in that email, but as long as each sentence keeps the prospect engaged and makes that prospect want to read another sentence, you're good. I mean, like, look at the best authors in the world. They write like 1,000-page books, and people still read those books in a couple of days because those are engaging. People don't read newspapers like that because, maybe not too catchy.
Yeah.
Darren, there was a question in the chat. When you do 30 to 60 LinkedIn DMs a day, how long does it take you?
Like hyper personalized, I can probably get through about 12 a day. Follow-ups, another 20 I can probably get through. I mean, it's going to take me all day to get through all of those things, right? So I mean, it's just part of, we're all prospecting, right? And so in between meetings, it's probably taking me 3 hours to get that stuff out.
Awesome.
I
Thanks for sharing.
100% would say that those 30 to 20 messages would outperform 200 poorly written emails. So the ROI of the time is so much worth it. If I would had to put it in perspective of, let's say, something different, if I would say like, hey, let's say we go on LinkedIn, I would say, hey, you can create text post, but let's say it will take you 10 minutes to write a text post, and you can do 6 text posts in an hour that will get you 5,000 monthly, like 5,000 views each per post. Would you spend time on that, or would you work on in one carousel post where you have to design a little bit? It will take you 1 hour, but at the end you will get 70,000 views. I think it's a worthwhile investment.
Okay.
I think we still have a time to even just look at the second email we could rewrite here. Maybe just kind of go through without actually writing that email, but just kind of have a look at that and see what we think about that. This is a LinkedIn DM.
Cool. Hope everything is going well for you. Senior professional achievement since 2010. I've been impressed with your skills. You're a master in this domain, but I was wondering, sir, as aviation fast-paced, ever-changing industry, don't you consider diversifying your skills a little bit wider? If so, I've listed a couple courses. I think interested in receiving them is always like a little bit of a spammy ending to a lot of folks. A lot of us get outreaches that are very similar to this. To this point, I think when you're sending this DM, right, like You want to make sure that this person actually, potentially knows who you are because they've seen some of your content. I don't know.
Derek,
This is a tough one.
you said something really smart earlier, which was you were talking about you'll use like a sustainability report as your where you'll do some research for your prospecting, and when you reference it, you'll actually screenshot the part of the report that was like your trigger. This person could do the same thing. They're saying, seeing your professional achievements since 2010, I've been impressed by all your skills you master in prospect expertise or domain. Okay, this to me, if I'm the prospect, I'm like, this sort of seems fake tailoring. But if they're screenshotting something that I've done or something that I've spoken on before and referencing that, which if they're actually looking up my expertise since 2010, they've done, that makes it a lot more believable. So I would recommend this person do the thing that you told me, Darren, which is like screenshot the research you did. And when they see, wait, that's me speaking on a panel, or wait, that's a picture of my sustainability report, or that's a picture of the press release about our new law firm office opening, that gets their attention way more than anything that you say. There's the quote from How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is the sweetest sound to somebody is their own name. And when somebody says Darren, that gets Darren's attention. And when I say Yuri, that gets Yuri's attention. Well, the same philosophy applies to if you want to get your prospect's attention, instead of their name in this scenario, it's something about, it's like their company's page. It's a press release and a picture of their office. That will get their attention. So that would be my rec for this person, is take that approach.
Yeah, and I think the third line is assumptive that they're not diversifying their skills. And that'll really, really rub people the wrong way. This person,
it's really contradicting.
They're probably really good at their job and they're probably diversifying their skills. So I would lead with that. Listen, man, you've had an incredible career. I'm sure you're diversifying your skills. If not, here are a couple of things that might be able to help.
100%.
Yeah. I would just put it in a way that, just like, if you just zone out a little bit and see what you've written, the second paragraph, you're saying, I'm impressed by the skills. The third, on the next paragraph, straight away, you're saying, but would you consider even learning a little bit more? So are you suggesting that I'm like, okay, you're impressed, but not that really impressed? What I would put is in the perspective of, I like, the aviation is a fast-paced and ever-changing industry. I would put it in a way like, okay, what has changed since 2010? What's like the latest biggest thing? And I would suggest like, hey, really impressed with like, everything that you've done in your 15 years in aviation since the introduction of X, let's say, 6th generation flights or planes or whatever. Have you thought of trying and have you started doing let's say next best certification for, courier turn or whatever? I would just be more specific.
I love all of you, and this has been awesome. I have to go run a proposal call, and I'm going to crush it, and I got to be 1 minute early. But this was awesome. But I got to bounce.
All right, man. Thank you so much for the review. You were awesome. We're probably going to wrap it up. We have 1 minute left. Good luck.
You want to end with anything?
I just want to end with this. First thing, I would highly recommend all of you following Darren for his LinkedIn and perspective on how to sell. And if you guys, I don't believe, but if you still haven't followed Nick and listened to 30 Minutes to President's Club, you're missing a lot. So many golden nuggets, so many things you've probably seen yourself. Those two guys actually gave like a value bomb out here for the people. What I really appreciate about this event is that it's actual like straight to the point, practical, actionable stuff. No BS, no, here's what I've done. Here's kind of how you should approach it. We're just taking real life examples and transforming it that. And there's much more of that on Nick's 30 Minutes to President's Club and his profile. So highly recommend following him. Thank you all for participating. Once again, I'm sorry we didn't go through all the email reviews, but this is just it is. What we tried to give as much value as possible for each email. Yeah, but it was helpful. Last plug, follow Nick, and see you around, guys.
Go check out Woodpecker. You got to give a little pitch for Woodpecker, Yuri. How can people engage with the wonderful team at Woodpecker, and how can they help? How can you all help with stuff we covered today?
Listen, there are so many more events that we're going to be doing. We're targeting 2 events like that per month. So every 2 weeks, we'll be doing such email reviews. So stay tuned until our next email review. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be practical as always.
And if you want to get better at cold email, I'll say it for you. Everybody go check out the Woodpecker site. There are a lot of resources there to help you with writing better cold emails, but there's also a lot that Woodpecker can do to help you build an operational system to make sure that your email actually hits the inbox. Because you can put a lot of muscle into writing a great sales email, but if it doesn't actually make it to your prospect's primary inbox, they're not going to see it. And they can help you build a sequence, cadence system for engaging with your prospects in a rhythmic way. Because oftentimes it's not the first message that gets their attention, it's the third or fourth. And you've got to have a system and structure to be able to do this in a way that doesn't drive you crazy as a sales professional. So if you've not checked out Woodpecker, I highly recommend you check it out. I know that helps a lot of teams out there, and we appreciate it.
What did Darren say? Referral is the best thing. So Nick, we're going to clip that thing and run it in our paid ads, PPC, all over the internet.
There you go. All right, folks.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
joining us.
Bye-bye.